If that looks like the number 59 motor to an HMV 101, you would be correct. And what it is the motor from the last 101 that I did about a week and a half ago, which was sent back to the customer. Playing, as you know, I did a whole video playing records and had fun with it, that kind of thing. And somehow, between here and there, the arbor detached from the mainspring. A brand new mainspring, I might add. I'm talking about the center hole. This is the old spring that was in there. The center hole here with the bent end, you see that? That hooks into an arbor shaft, and it's retained by spring pressure. You can see the tight coils there. That's how it is retained on the arbor shaft, so it won't slip off. It's tightly on there, clipped on there, so it doesn't slip off or anything like that. Pay close attention to how that bent end is very straight bent up. Very determined. Let me get where is my little, what do you call it here? So knock some grease out of there so you can see that bent end a little bit better if I can. I didn't clean this spring because I'm not reusing it, but okay. You can see how that bent end is formed in there. Pretty easy to see. All right. This is the replacement spring that I put in there. For one thing, you can see there's a lot more spring to it than this one is. This one is kind of scrunched together because it's weak. It's old. It's 100 years old. It's weak. This one, brand new, so it's got more spring to it. That part of it is not something I'm complaining about. Now take a look at that center. What do you notice first off? You notice that the bent end is almost flat. It was not like that when I put the spring in there. It was pretty tightly clamped onto the arbor shaft, as normal. I thought nothing of it. It fit like it always fits. I've used these springs from this particular supplier before with no issues. All right, so I had to remove the spring again. I had to install another new spring, and I can only hope that the new spring I just put in there does not also do this. And if you want to know what can cause this to happen, soft metal, improper heat annealing somehow. Now, there was something I noticed. I bought 3 of these springs from the same supplier. There was something I noticed. Both of the other springs had surface rust, pretty evenly distributed across that entire center part there, where it had been heated with a torch and cooled down, and no lubricant was put on top of it, so of course humidity in the air caused it to rust. All right. However, this spring didn't have that rust there. That should have been a clue to me that something might not be right, but you know, I'm a little slow, so. Well, I'm guessing this did not get the same amount of heat treatment. Not enough to cause rust to form on the metal anyway, and it failed. Came detached from the arbor shaft. He didn't even get to play one record. He tried to crank it the first time, and the damn winding handle just spun. That's it. And when it left here, the last thing I did to this machine, with this spring in it, was play a couple more records that I just wanted to listen to before I put it in the box and wrapped it up and sent it out. Now, the whole machine did not come back this time, just the motor and the motor board did, so I could put a new spring in it. You know, these small businesses, and they are all small businesses who provide these new parts to us, they're little cottage industries, and they're making these springs. Probably a lot of handwork involved in them. They don't make a hell of a lot of money on them. I appreciate the work they do. That is not the issue here. And you know what? Shit happens. It does. Shit happens. You forget stuff. You forgot to anneal this or something like that. Maybe it's on that end. Maybe it's on this end. It happens to all of us. We all make mistakes. I'm not taking issue with that. What I'm taking issue is a lack of communication. I sent the seller of the spring, who I'm not going to name, I'm not doing that. I sent him a email, because that's the only way I have to contact this particular person, letting them know of the issue, what happened, how it happened, and asking how we should rectify the situation. And it's been, I believe, 4 or 5 days now. I've gotten no answer. None. Now, maybe he's on vacation. Maybe he's sick. Maybe he fell off the face of the world. I don't know. And the only reason why I would even mention it at this point is because this particular seller has a track record with me of not getting back to me when I send emails to their website with a complaint. This is not the first spring that has failed. I had a triple spring motor on my Victrola, quintuple spring motor on my Victrola 18 that I put brand new springs in, and one of them, the last spring I was putting into it, that bent end you see right there simply fell off. As I was putting the arbor in, the spring literally broke right there, which meant it was too brittle. Again, it wasn't properly annealed. And I'm not saying it's easy to do that with something like this. I'm sure it's not that bad on the outer end. I've done those myself. The inner end, a little bit more difficult, I'm sure. All right, again, shit happens. I contacted the seller and I got no response. None. So I put one of the original springs back in the machine and called it good. 3 brand new springs, one fairly decent original. That's fine. The machine will play. And it's my machine, so, I'm not ripping off a customer or something like that. I didn't get upset about this because a year before that incident, which is almost a year and a half, almost 2 years ago now, I had sent this seller an order for 3 big springs for a Victrola 16 and a number of things for rebuilding reproducers. We're talking over $300, I think it was, something like that. I got the order, no problem. I used the springs, no problem. Used the reproducer parts, again, 0 issues, no problem with any of them. However, a week after all of that, another box walks in the door. Mailman leaves it, and I said, what's this? I recognize the address. I open it up, and there's the same exact order as I already had received right in there. And I said, oh my God, did I double order this? Am I that stupid? Did I double order this? Or did they make a mistake and send me a second order and I've been charged for this? So I, contacted my credit card company and no, I had not received a second charge for this. So I immediately contacted the seller, informed them of what had happened, and told them if they would send a pickup label or reimburse me for the shipping to return it, because it's not like that's cheap. It's a heavy box. I would take care of it. Send it right back, no problem. Crickets. Nothing. Never got back to me at all. So that's the track record that's going on with this. That's the only reason why I am mentioning this now. I'm still ahead of the game now. Okay, I had one big, 17-foot Victrola spring broke. That's $45. Another spring here, that's another $45. So I'm still a couple of $100 ahead of them on this. And there's also my labor to consider because I've had to do this twice now. Once, 2 times on this one now, and 2 times on the 18 also. I don't work for free. When it's somebody else's screw up, especially. My screw ups, that's different. But somebody else's screw up, I don't work for free. So as far as I'm concerned, that second accidentally shipped to me order is now mine. I own it. You know what I'm saying? But I don't understand why people do business this way. I've sold online for years on multiple platforms. And the one thing that always got my immediate and undivided attention was any kind of message from a buyer. Before the sale, after the sale, whatever, I always opened it immediately. As soon as I noticed it there, which is right away, dings my phone whenever I get a message, and I took care of the problem. Contacted, the buyer. We discussed what the issue was, if any, and it was taken care of right away. No delays. Everything came to a stop until whatever it was taken care of. That they are the people that buy from me, and I want them to continue to buy from me. So I'm going to do whatever it takes to, solve whatever the issue might be. But for some reason, this particular seller doesn't do business that way. I don't know why. No idea. Not a clue. I'm hoping maybe he's on vacation or something, and when he gets back, he'll see the email and he'll contact me. But you know what? I'm not holding my breath. Not after the last 2 times. And there's no phone number to contact anybody. You know, no 800 number, no hell, I'll pay the toll, all right? You don't want an 800 number, whatever it is. It's going to be free when I call you anyway if you're in the continental United States. I'll do it on my end. But, no. So stupid little things like this continue to happen. And this might be an issue that's widespread. Maybe other people are having the same issue going on, and this seller doesn't realize this because he's not reading his emails. You know, he'll eventually notice a falling off of business, maybe. But if he's not reading his emails, he may not know what's going on. So, you know, that's another important, reason why you want to keep on top of stuff like that. Now, and there's also an inconvenience factor here. The customer was inconvenienced. He had to take the motorboard out of the machine, disappointed that it doesn't work like it's supposed to because he saw it work in the videos. He was all ready to play it. This is his first HMV. He's had it since he was a kid. He wanted to play it again, gift from his parents, all of that, and takes it out of the box and it doesn't work. That would disappoint the hell out of me. And there's inconvenience when it gets back here that now I have to spend time putting another spring in here and doing all the testing over again. I'm not just throwing a spring in there after what happened with this one. I wound that thing up and let it run down probably 35, 40 times already. Just all day. Just wind it up, walk away, do something else, come back, wind it up again, walk away, waiting for it to fail. I took the barrel out a couple of times. I checked to see if the arbor shaft was coming, if it was coming loose, if the spring was coming undone on that. So far it hasn't. I even wound it all the way tight, tighter than I generally recommend ever doing. Because you could break a spring doing that. 60 cranks on there. And I let it sit that way for a couple of days to see if I could get it to fail. And it did not fail. So I think this one hopefully is going to be good, which is, I was a little worried about it because this is one of 3 bought at the same time, same exact spring from the same place. So there is a high probability it could have the same issue. But so far it isn't. But like I said, this one had surface rust on the center coils, showing that it had been subjected to heat and all of that. While this one, you can see it now. I did not clean that. It had grease on it, and I washed the grease off with gasoline. But there is really no rust on that. That's how it looked when I put it in. I just did not clue to it. And luck of the draw, the spring of the 3 that I picked at random out of the box is the one that's going to be a problem. That's just the way luck goes. That's Mr. Murphy at work there, Murphy's Law. And see, it stopped and did not come off. Didn't come off the arbor. It's still on there. Think we're good on that now. I'm going to continue to play with it as, one way or another. This is not going to go out of here until Monday at the very earliest anyway. So that gives me plenty of time to keep cranking it up and letting it wind down, cranking it up and letting it wind down to see if I can get it to fail. Because my only other option here on this spring is to go overseas to get it, which means a delay of probably over a month. It could happen, and I've had them take that long to get here, assuming that they are in stock at my overseas supplier. And they're not always in stock when I need one. And use that spring in place of this one, which I really don't want to have to do. Not to mention it's also a lot more expensive with the shipping and everything else. Look at this, we got cat ears on there. And then, of course, the customer is going on vacation for an extended period of time, and he won't be able to see his machine, before then, and won't know how it's doing. It'll be sitting around here. If I drop dead, who is going to get it to him? That kind of thing. So I always want to make sure things leave here when they're completed. But there's always going to be the worry. Is it going to fail? Is it going to fail? Is it going to fail? But I played, I played an hour-long video's worth of records demonstrating this machine. And that is on top of a whole stack of records I played just for my own, and to test the machine further, just for my own enjoyment. So Hopefully we're not going to have another issue with this, but I just wanted to get it out there that you do have to be aware of this kind of thing. It can happen. You know, with new parts, these parts are, like I said, they're small cottage industries doing this. And I very much appreciate what these people do, making these things available to us and, you know, all of that. But when there is a problem, there also needs to be customer service. You know, we cannot be living with a situation where, well, you know, I made this part for you, you take it or leave it. If it's good, it's good. If it's bad, it's bad. You assume the risk. I'm not doing that. I could have put the old spring back in. The old spring is weak, yes, but it'll still play one side of record. If nothing else, it'll still do that. And notice that the ends are not broken. They're in very good shape, actually. I'm not throwing that spring away at all. That is a last ditch, you know, last ditch spring. If I have to put it into this or another machine, I will, but I don't want to do that. Because you can see how much nicer the new spring looks, how much it springs out more. You can always tell the health of the spring by how much it springs out. That is sprung out almost two and a half, 3 times as much as this one is. And this is also a little bit longer too. This is a 13-foot spring, I believe it is. This is a 15-foot spring. There's plenty of room inside the spring barrel for that. It fits just fine, and it gives it a little extra power. That spring was playing 2 sides of a record, some of which had wear on them. That's pretty good for a spring, new or otherwise, in these kinds of motors, because these are the smallest of the these are the smallest of the HMV or Victor motors, and they take the smallest springs. So you're never going to have a powerhouse here. Worn records will usually stop these machines, and they're not going to play 4 or 5 sides of a record for you like a Victrola 16 or 18 will. Just not going to do that. But they're portable machines. That's what they're made to be. Just, you know, picnic machines are not made to take the place of your big house Victrola. So, but that's the story of why this is back and why I'm pissed off. You know, pick up the damn phone and call me. I know these days it is out of fashion to, you know, actually call people on the telephone and speak to them. You know, but hell, if you have to send me an email or even a damn text, please do so. You know, that's good too. As long as, you know, we have an understanding reached here with this. I don't want to have to keep using springs and having them fail on my machines, or worse, somebody else's, and have it come back. You know, or I have to take my own machines apart again. Much as I love working on these machines, this is my hobby. I love doing this. I don't want to have to keep doing it like Groundhog Day, the same exact thing every single day, and so fixing the same problems because a part failed in the same way over and over and over again. As you can see, I have a number of projects here. Back there, I'm working on a Victrola 4 motor, little single spring motor for Victrola 4. It's out of the gasoline bath over there. It's been scrubbed. I got it partially back together. Still got to work on that. I'm waiting on a spring for that. I have a tone arm I have to fix for that. I have to take care of this. And then somewhere in the middle of that, I want to start on that Victrola 50. That was in the last video. You know, that's a project that's been put off for quite a while, and the temperature is only getting hotter and more humid out here. I think tomorrow it's going to be creeping up towards 90. So whatever I do is going to be done in the early morning. You know, I'm too old for that, working in the hot and all of that. That's my brain fries. I start to make stupid mistakes. I don't want to be dealing with that. So I'd like to make progress here. And besides which, there's other machines waiting in the wings, some really nice ones. I'll give you a hint. There's an HMV 461 waiting. For those of you who know HMVs, you'll know that is an uncommon machine to see here in the States. It's waiting for a full service, the usual that I do. I was going to put new springs in that one. I got to tell you the truth, I'm a little bit hesitant now. Unless I find something bad inside that. It's a double spring Victor style motor, a typical type. You know, I've done many of those motors before, but if I don't find anything horribly wrong with those springs, I'm putting them back in, because that's my machine. It's not being sold. That's staying with me. There's another 102 that's also going to be most likely staying with me. It's an early 102 that needs full service, a little bit of repair, that kind of thing. All of these projects I want to get to, And then there's the, the regular stuff that's floating around. I got a couple of Victrola 6s I might play with a little bit. There's a Victor Victrola 35 that needs to be finished, and so on. There's more coming down the pike. There's always another one coming along. Alrighty, that's enough ranting about the spring issues here. Yeah, not good. Not good at all, and I am definitely taking issue with the performance of this one. Have a great Independence Day weekend, everybody.